Welcome everybody, and thank you Maharaji for giving us time today to be with us. We know that it is 6:30 a.m. in New York. You have been very, very kind in spite of such cold weather there early in the morning. You have kindly agreed and have been gracious enough to kindly speak to us. Just to uh, make a mention that we started this program in the wake of pandemic to give mental sustenance to the people, and also to give them happiness and also mental confidence to fight with the pandemic, and also have mental cool during this time. Swamiji will speak today on the Sermon on the Mount, a Vedantic reading. So many of our local Filipino people will be very, very interested. After this, Swami Udaranandaji will speak a few words, and then Sarvapriyanandaji will start his lecture on the topic, which I mentioned. That is the Sermon on the Mount, a Vedantic reading. Just sort of as I was mentioning a while earlier during the informal session, that Swami Sarvapriyanandaji is a household name all over the world, especially among the Indian population all over the world. So, but for sake of the record, let us formally introduce him. Swami Sarvapriyanandaji has been working as a minister and spiritual leader of the Vedanta Society of New York, and he assumed his duties in New York on January 6, 2017. He is a Nagral Fellow for 2019-20 at Harvard Divinity School. Prior to this, he served as Assistant Minister of the Vedanta Society, California, for 13 months, beginning on December 3, 2015. Swamiji joined the Ramakrishna Math and Mission in 1994 and received sannyas in 2004 before being posted to California, California's Hollywood Temple. Swami served as an acharya, teacher of the monastic probationers training center at Belur Math, India. He has served the Ramakrishna Math and Mission in various capacities, including being vice principal of the Deghwar Vidyapit Higher Secondary School, principal of Shikshana Mandira Teacher Education College, that is Teachers Training Institution at Belur Math, and he was the first registrar of Vivekananda University, Belur Math, India. With these words, I would request our Minister in charge, Swami Udaranandaji Maharaj, to kindly speak a few words, and then Maharaji will start his lecture. Swami Udaranandaji, mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Nirmala. A very good morning to Swami Sarvapriyanandaji, and very good evening to rest of you, because here it is evening. I am very, very grateful to Swami Sarvapriyanandaji for kindly accepting our request to speak here, and it has enhanced the glorification of this platform, by his joining. Before my coming to Manila, it was on every Sunday devotees. I just want to give you a brief introduction about Sarvapriyanandaji Swami. So before my coming to Manila, every Sunday, the devotees here used to assemble, and they used to play the recordings of lectures of Swami Sarvapriyananda. So technically speaking, he came to Manila much before me, and he was widely appreciated. So, and secondly, every year we used to have a book fair, Manila book fair. It is conducted every year. So Ramakrishna Vedanta Society also participates. So whenever I was going and participating in that book fair, whenever anybody will come, he would say, yes, we know Ramakrishna Mission. I said, how do you know Ramakrishna Mission? You are just coming, I am seeing you just now. They will say, no, we are listening to lectures of Swami Sarvapriyananda on YouTube. So this is a very commonly quoted word from the Filipinos. Wherever I go, they say, tell me only one thing, we know the lectures of Swami Sarvapriyananda. Yes, we are hearing. So when I was inviting people, they are saying, why you are inviting? We are already hearing. Even in November, we have heard his lecture. Something they quoted some recent lectures of yours. So you are so popular and well known in all around Manila, especially with the Filipino, which is a remarkable achievement because many monks have spoken, but they are mostly. But it has created one kind of a different difficulty for me also because when I came, they thought everybody is like Sarvapriyananda. I said, no, he is a limited audition once in a while production of Sri Ramakrishna. We do not have many Sarvapriyananda. We have only one Vivekananda, Ranganathananda, and Sarvapriyananda. Everybody cannot be a speaker like him. So, but that misconception is there. Okay? But anyway, I don't want to prolong this. I'm very happy. I was not expecting that Maharaj will say yes, but he was so kind. With one request, he immediately accepted. I'm very grateful to him, and I'm sure everybody who's participating today will have many takeouts today, and really it will be a session worth attending. So thank you, Maharaj, once again for kindly accepting our request. With these few words, I give the mic to you, Maharaj. It is now yours. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Once again.
First of all, I would like to offer my pranams to Swami Vedanandaji Maharaj for his invitation and his kind words and his very generous introduction. And thanks to Nirmal Babu and the other members of your team for organizing this very nice international platform for me to be able to meet all of you. So let me start with a chant and then we will go from there. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaskar, everybody. For this talk, Swamiji suggested that since Philippines is predominantly Christian, it might be better to base the talk or frame it in terms of a Christian text. So I had different options. So for example, Imitation of Christ is a book that was very dear to Swami Vivekananda's heart, and it's one of my favorite books also. Another option was to speak about Meister Eckhart, who's a Catholic theologian, a German mystic, whose works are very Vedantic. But I thought, let's go straight back to the gospel, straight back to Jesus Christ himself. And in the New Testament, I think, and not just me, everybody sort of knows the essence of it. The core teachings, the highest teachings, are found in the Sermon on the Mount. So I thought we can talk about the Sermon on the Mount, but from a Vedantic perspective. My work is much easier because there is this beautiful book written by Swami Prabhavanandaji, the Sermon on the Mount according to Vedanta. So what I will speak is at least partly based on what Maharaj has written in this book. In the introduction to this book, Henry James Foreman, he writes that Vedanta has come to the West. I mean, he's writing in America at that time. Has come to the West not to supplant any religion, not to convert people from one religion to another, but to deepen the spirituality. So he says that, he was a great Christian writer, Henry James Foreman. He says that when Christians come to listen to Vedanta talks, an appreciation of their own tradition increases. There's a deepening of the understanding of their own tradition also. And this is something that people across the world have noticed, whether they are Hindus or Buddhists or Christians or Muslims. So I thought, let's take a look at the Sermon on the Mount, maybe the essential teachings of the Holy Bible, but according to a Vedantic reading. The Sermon on the Mount, we know the context. What happened was that Jesus was surrounded by, there's, oh, somebody saying there's no sound. Can you hear? Everybody can hear, right? So no problem. Fine.
We can
It
hear.
must be
We
a
can
local
hear.
problem then.
We can hear.
So Jesus Christ was surrounded by lots of people, and he took his close disciples, the apostles, up a hill, and then he gave these teachings only to those close disciples. Now, we note this in the life of Sri Ramakrishna also. He would teach everybody. He would constantly talk about God and God realization. But especially the young men who later became the monks of the Ramakrishna order, um, these young men, Narain and Rakal and Baburam and others, he would often take them aside and he would give them some very intense, very personal instructions he would give them. Jesus also does the same with his apostles here. And so there is somebody, Bhagyama, who is making a mistake by putting on the presentation. So you have to
Please,
stop that.
yes, please stop. Please stop. Don't try to record. We are recording and we'll
No, it's not
share it.
recording. I think they're just by mistake pressing the
Okay.
presentation. Yes, good. So the essential teachings were given by Jesus to his closest disciples, to the apostles. Now, are they secret? Are they meant only for the apostles? No, they are actually meant for everybody. But when Jesus gave these teachings to his closest disciples, he would have raised their consciousness to this level where these would be vivid experiences for them. You know, it would be life transforming teachings for them. Of course, through them, through the apostles, we get all these teachings. They're all available to us. It's interesting that many years ago, I was teaching novices, brahmacharis, who are going to become sannyasis, monks in Belur Math, our main monastery. And there, one of the things that we study is the scriptures, the texts of the major religions of the world. So I asked once the brahmacharis there that these are the teachings of the Sermon on the Mount. What is the purpose of these teachings? And all together, all at once, they all said, the purpose is God realization. That if we follow these teachings, you will realize God, you will find God. Now, this is an interesting takeaway from these teachings because I was reading, if you see the interpretations given by great thinkers, by the Catholic Church itself, multiple interpretations are given of the Sermon on the Mount. For example, Leo Tolstoy, he says, what is the purpose of the Sermon on the Mount? He says, if you follow the Sermon on the Mount, you will be able to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. That is, our society itself will become a heavenly society. This is a good interpretation. Like this, the different interpretations are there. The standard interpretation given by the Catholic Church is that it is meant for the apostles, it is meant for a select group of people only. Similarly, so there are different interpretations are given. But I think the core idea of the Sermon on the Mount is that it is meant for God realization. These are the essential teachings, the highest teachings, and anybody can follow them, but if you really want it, and that takes you to God directly. So Jesus gives these teachings to to his closest disciples, and the essence of the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is the essence of the Bible, and the essence of the Sermon on the Mount is found in what are called the Beatitudes. Very powerful, very not cryptic, but short, powerful sentences, which we have been interpreting, we have been talking about for the last 2000 years now. So, for example, the first thing he said was, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, poor in spirit, we have to interpret this because this is not the kind of language we are used to nowadays. This is from the King James Bible version. So, poor in spirit basically means humble, with humility. That you come to the spiritual master with a question, with a desire for spiritual knowledge. See, one thing that prevents spiritual development is ego. The ego born of, for example, I'm a big person. Maybe I'm rich, or maybe I'm famous, or I'm very learned. I am powerful, great. If that attitude I come to that, with that attitude to the spiritual master, I cannot benefit. There is this famous Zen story of a student who went to a Zen master and said, "Please teach me." And whatever the master said, the student said, "Oh, yes, yes, I know, I have read that in this book, or I have read it in that book. Yes, I have heard this earlier." After some time, the Zen master said, "Let us have tea." You know, the famous Japanese tea ceremony. So he started pouring tea, and on the student's cup, he kept on pouring. The tea overflowed, and the student said, "Stop, stop, what are you doing? Its tea is overflowing." And the master said, "Yes, unless you empty your cup, how can you taste my tea?" So, this attitude of going to a spiritual master with reverence, this is the deepest, highest, most sacred subject in the world, spirituality. And we must approach it with that seriousness, with that reverence, with that respect. In the Bhagavad Gita, for example, Krishna starts speaking only after Arjuna asks a question. You see, whole first chapter, and then the first 7-8 verses of the second chapter, Arjuna is speaking. Krishna does not say anything, he just listens. Only when Arjuna says that, "I am confused, I don't know what to do, you are my teacher, please tell me," then only Krishna starts teaching. I remember this very interesting incident in the Mahabharata. Duryodhana, the villain in the whole Mahabharata story, Krishna went and tried to teach him also. See, people ask this question, why did Krishna teach Arjuna? Arjuna is the good guy. Why not teach it to the bad guy and transform the bad person so that then the entire war would be unnecessary, the whole problem would be solved? Krishna actually tried to do that. He went to Duryodhana and he tried to tell him. Duryodhana did not listen. What Duryodhana did, what he said is very interesting. He says, "Janami dharmam, nachame pravritti." I know what is dharma, what is good I know, what is bad I know. You don't have to tell me. That's not my problem. Janami dharmam nachame pravritti. I know what is right, but I have no interest in doing it. I know what is wrong. Janami adharmam nachame nivritti. I cannot stop myself from doing it. This is the human condition. This is the human dilemma. That we know, we have a lot of knowledge, but there's no motivation to do it. Sometimes we know what we are doing is wrong, but we cannot somehow prevent ourselves from doing it. This is some kind of force is there within me which is making me do this. I don't know what to do about it. I cannot change. Notice he did not ask, Duryodhana did not ask a question to Krishna. He says, "I know, and nothing can be done about this." So Krishna did not teach anymore. Arjuna says almost the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, that impelled by what force does a human being does he do wrong, and how can we overcome it? And then Krishna teaches him. So this approaching spiritual knowledge with humility. Blessed are the poor in spirit means those who can lower themselves. Nowadays, this is a feeling, especially here in America, it is my thought. I am thinking, and therefore that is most important. My thoughts are most important. But if we think about it a little bit, why do I give so much importance to this one brain? There are billions of people in the world, and I must admit many of them in past and now are greater than me. They have deeper understanding. Why this extraordinary attachment to the thoughts in one brain just because it is my brain? Is it not possible that other brains can come up with better thoughts, higher thoughts? So this is a kind of ego, and this we have to let go when we approach spiritual life. That's why this is the first thing that Jesus said. Next he said, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." Now, blessed are they that mourn. If we are in sorrow, we shall get comfort. God will comfort us. But what sorrow is it? Again, very interesting teaching. What sorrow? What are we sorrowful about? Sri Ramakrishna says that people in the world, they weep buckets of tears for husband, wife, children, for money, nowadays for fame or say Facebook likes. I heard many people become unhappy, mentally shaken because they are not getting enough likes on Facebook or enough followers or something like that on social media. It is becoming a kind of new kind of mental stress. It has already become, especially for young people. Now, this is what people are mourning for. What people are unhappy, people are in sorrow, but for what? For things in the world. And the problem with that is that even if we get them, what we want in the world, suppose I get more money, suppose I get more fame, suppose more people praise me, will that make me happy? Will that make me lastingly satisfied? Will that give any profound, lasting satisfaction? No, it won't. How do you know? Look around. Look at the lives of people who are the richest people in the world. Look at the lives of people who were conquerors and emperors. Look at the lives of Hollywood superstars. None of that is of lasting importance. None of that will give us any kind of lasting peace of mind. I say that after coming to the United States a few years ago, I got an opportunity to stay in three interesting places. First, I was for 1 year. I was in Hollywood. We have a Vedanta Society there, and then I'm here in New York, very close to Wall Street. And for last 2 years back, for 1 year, I was at Harvard University. Now, three interesting places. In one place in Hollywood, the highest thing is glamour. Fame, name and fame, if you are part of the movie industry. In Wall Street, New York, it's not fame, it's money. If you are rich, then you are successful. At Harvard, it was not money or fame, it was learning. Are you the head of the department? Are your books prescribed in universities? Top of the food chain is, are you a Nobel Prize winner? So on. Now, what I noticed was that none of these things which people are madly running after, fame and money and academic achievement, none of these things by themselves give any lasting fulfillment. Sri Ramakrishna used to say all of these things are like zeros. No matter how many zeros you collect, you write down many zeros, the totality is just zero. But if he says if you put one, and after that every zero adds value. Now that one is of course spirituality. The one is of course God. So it's not that people there's nobody who is happy in Hollywood or in Wall Street or in Harvard. There may be, but they have some kind of spirituality. After that, all the other things are good. But that spiritual, so one must seek that spirituality. One must mourn, be sorrowful, sad, not because of I did not get more money or that people do not praise me, not because of that, but because I do not feel the presence of God. The God is not in my life. In whichever religion, whichever tradition, spiritual life has not yet started for me. It's not a vivid reality for me. And that's why I weep. Sri Ramakrishna wept for the vision. For him, God was mother. So wept for the vision of God as a mother. He would cry, literally cry, day after day, that you have revealed yourself to great spiritual seekers. Will you not show yourself to me? Will I not have the vision, the experience of God? That is, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. That mourning must come into our lives. Recently, I was listening to a beautiful Bengali song composed by the great poet Rabindranath Tagore. So I will read out that song. Um, I know most people here are not Bengali, so it will not make much sense, but I'll translate it as I go along. I'll read it more for myself, so it's easier for me to translate. See, this song captures the spirit of this divine mourning, that this sadness that I have not yet got God in my life. What a beautiful song. Let me read out the song and translate. যদি তোমার দেখা না পাই প্রভু এবার এই জীবনে, if, O Lord, if I do not see you, do not get thy vision in this life, this time in this life, তবে তোমায় আমি পাইনি যেন সে কথা রয় মনে, then let me not forget and let me remember that I have not got God. যেন ভুলে না যাই বেদনা পাই শয়নে স্বপনে, let me not forget that God has not yet come into my life. Let me suffer from this spiritual pain. Let a pain haunt my dreams that God has not come into my life. এ সংসারের হাটে আমার যতই দিবস কাটে, আমার যতই দুহাত ভরে ওঠে ধনে, তবু কিছুই আমি পাইনি, যেন সে কথা রয় মনে। In this marketplace of the world, he compares the world to a marketplace. You have to think not of a supermarket mall, but Indian market. So there'll be a lot of noise and a lot of little stalls and people shouting, bargaining, purchasing. Samsara, our life is like that. In this marketplace of the world, as many days as I spend here and how much I acquire in this world. Literally says wealth. I fill both of my hands with wealth, but wealth and people and family and achievements, all the things that I grab in this world, no matter how much I accumulate in this world throughout my life, let me not forget that these are nothing. Nothing, I've really not got anything at all. These will go away. At the point of death, everything will be lost. All will be taken away from us. Even this body will go away. So the poet says, Jano bhule na jaye bedona pai shayone shapane. Let me not forget, let pain haunt my dreams. Jodi আলস ভরে আমি বসি পথের পরে, যদি ধুলায় শয়ন পাতি সযতনে, যেন সকল পথই বাকি আছে সে কথা রয় মনে। He says that out of heedlessness, out of laziness, if I make my bed on the dust of this road. So he compares life in this world to a road. It's not, this is not the goal. This world is not the goal. This worldly life is not the goal. It's a road. But forgetting that, if I make my bed here in the dust of the road and I relax here, there, many people are happy. They say, why? What is the need of God, spirituality? I'm quite happy here. For temporarily. Let us not forget the Buddha's warning. Anityam, anityam, sarvam anityam. Transient, temporary. Everything is temporary. So let me not forget that. Let me not forget that the entire path is remaining now. Shakal pathi baki. Have I learned to meditate like Vivekananda? Does my heart cry for the poor, for the suffering, like the great spiritual masters? Is my heart full of love of God, like Mirabai or like Sri Ramakrishna? Have I realized, like Ramana Maharshi, that I am the Brahman? All of it is left yet. I have not done anything yet. It is all remaining for me. Shakal pathi baki. Let me not forget. Then the poet says, যতই উঠে হাসি, ঘরে যতই বাজে বাঁশি, ওগো যতই গৃহ সাজাই আয়োজনে, যেন তোমায় ঘরে হয়নি আনা সে কথা রয় মনে। Let there be as much music and song and dance in this world. Let there be so much happiness and people are laughing all the time and in mirth in the house. Let me decorate my house with all sorts of beautiful things. House means my life basically. Degrees and achievements and people, relationships, gadgets, occupations, vacations, selfie photos, and all these ways I decorate my life. Let me not forget that only one thing is missing in this beautiful house I have made. The thing which is missing is Tomai hoyni ana. I have not bought, I failed to bring you, my Lord, into my life. Let me not forget that. The most important thing I have not done in life. Then he concludes, Jano bhule na jaye, bedona paye shayone shapone. Let me not forget, let the spiritual pain, let it haunt my dreams. So this is blessed are they that mourn. If we have a little bit of that sorrow, a little bit of that want, the highest thing in spirit in life, that I have not done yet. I have not started this life yet. That sorrow if I have, then I will be comforted. Jesus, he gives his guarantee, God will comfort you. People want many things in life. It's not that if you pray for money or if you pray for health and all, that it is bad. It's not bad. It's all right. It's very understandable. Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha bhajante mam. 4 kinds of devotees I have. Arta, those who are in distress. There is a saying that, especially in hospitals, you will find there will always be a prayer room and somebody will be praying. Whenever we are in crisis, somebody is ill, somebody close to us, beloved, even the hardest heart will, out of at least fear, turn to God in a prayer. So people who are in some kind of distress, some problem, they turn to God. And they are one kind of devotee. Second kind, Krishna says, artharthi, those who want something in life. No problem as such, but I want more money or more success, or at the very least, let things go well for me and my family. That much I want. So, this is the second kind. That person is also a devotee. Third kind is, I don't want anything in life, I have no problems, but I want to know if God exists. Can I actually experience God? Can I feel the presence of God in my life? That is called a jigyasu, spiritual seeker. Narendranath, who became Vivekananda, he went around asking people in Calcutta in those days, late 19th century, Sir, have you seen God? Great teachers of religion, philosophers, theologians, pundits, he would go around and ask, have you seen God? Have you experienced God? That is a jigyasu. Narendranath was not going there for money or for that he was in some trouble. No, he wanted to realize God. So that's the third kind of devotee. And then Krishna says the highest kind is Jnani, the enlightened one. That person is also a devotee of God, but the highest kind. Now, Krishna says in the Gita that the first two kinds, they are also devotees, and there's nothing wrong with asking people who want something in life, people who want the protection of God. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, one must become a spiritual seeker and become enlightened. That is the purpose of spirituality, purpose of devotion. That seeking, can I experience God? I'm missing the presence of God in my life. That is what Jesus calls, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Then he says, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Now, this is an interesting statement because nowadays we think it's just the opposite. If you are meek, you will not get anything. You will be deprived. People will, whatever little you have, also people will snatch away from you. People will deprive you. But blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Here, it is this understanding that everything in this life belongs to God. That if we pursue things in this life, it will not lead to satisfaction. If I pursue God realization, if I try to focus and hold on to God, then that leads to satisfaction. This meekness is that not trying to chase things in life for the sake of those things, but focusing one's attention on God. And in this way, Jesus uses two phrases again and again. He says, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Here, kingdom of heaven means spiritual life. If you seek God, you will get bhakti, devotion. You will get knowledge, jnana. You will get meditation, dhyana, samadhi. Your life will be a blessing to others. So that is kingdom of heaven. You will feel the presence of God in your life and be fulfilled. But also, he says, they will inherit the earth. By this he means, in this life also will go well. If you center yourself in God, whatever is in this life, that will also be taken care of. People may be worried. If I think about God all the time, if I'm praying, meditating, attending spiritual talks, who will take care of my life? I have a family to look after, I have a job. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, don't worry, I will take care of it. He says, Yogakshema Vahamyaham. Those who are focused on God, those who surrender to God, those who have devotion for God, their worldly life will also be taken care of. You need not worry. Now, there one must be careful. Oh, God will take care of everything that I need. So I need to be a millionaire. So will God make me a millionaire or a billionaire? No. Sri Ramakrishna blesses Narendranath. When Narendranath is in, later on Vivekananda, he is in dire straits. His father has passed away. This poverty-stricken, this very wealthy family has fallen on bad days. His widowed mother, his younger brothers and sisters in serious condition, poverty. So he asks Sri Ramakrishna, you tell your mother Kali, that let my problems be solved. And Sri Ramakrishna told him, why don't you go and say? And Swami Vivekananda says, but he listens to you. You tell Kali. But anyway, we know the story that Sri Ramakrishna persuaded Narendranath, go to the temple and ask Kali to give you money. And we know the story that Narendranath went not once, not twice, 3 times he went. And every time he felt the presence of God there and the presence of the Divine Mother. And he could not ask for money. He asked for devotion, bhakti. He asked for knowledge, jnana. He asked for dispassion, renunciation, vairagya. Sri Ramakrishna, of course, was secretly happy. But the point of the story is this. Ultimately, Sri Ramakrishna said in Bengali, তোমাদের মোটা ভাত কাপড়ের অভাব হবে না. For your mother and your brothers and sisters. He did not say they will become multimillionaires or billionaires. He says simple, plain food and clothes, they will not have want. So your worldly needs will be taken care of. Don't worry about it. You should inherit the earth. Not only that, there's a deeper meaning to it. Your life will become a blessing for the earth. For others will be benefited from your life. Your own life will be blessed. You will get the benefit from it, but others will also get it. At least in your family, in your neighborhood, in your co-workers, they will get some peace in associating with you, some inspiration, some blessings will flow through you. If you pray for them, their problems may sometimes be solved, and people will begin to notice that. So they will inherit the earth, Jesus says. Then he says, blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. If you're hungry and thirsty, you'll be filled. But hungry and thirsty for what? Here, righteousness does not mean in the sense of ethics. This is one thing that we must understand, that ethics is the foundation of spiritual life. There can be no spirituality without an ethical life. God comes only after good. We must try to be a good person, and only then the higher spirituality opens to us. Again, here one thing is to be understood. People may misunderstand that, oh, I think I'm a sinner, I'm not good. Let me first become a good person, then I will go to God, then I will come to spiritual life. No. Go to God directly. It's like a person who's feeling very cold. And then if this person says, I cannot go near the fire, I'm very cold, fire is very hot, so first I have to warm myself, then I will go near the fire. That is a foolish thing to say. Go near the fire, you will be warmed. You will be protected from the cold. Similarly, for ethical life also, for being a good person also, one can go straight to God, bring God into your life. You'll see our ethical life also will be transformed. But here Jesus is talking about something higher, something deeper. Those who hunger and thirst after righteousness means hunger and thirst for God, for the presence of God in our lives. There's this old story in India. A disciple went to a guru, a spiritual teacher, and said, when will I see God? And the guru said, come for a bath in the river. And he takes the disciple to the river and he dunks him inside the water and holds it down. And the disciple is struggling for breath. And then he brings him out, and the disciple takes a deep breath. And the guru said, how did you feel? And his disciple said, oh, for one breath, I could have given up anything in life. And the guru said, when you pant for God in that way, then you will realize God. That one thing. Of course, at this point, somebody may say that, well, I don't have that kind of want for God, so will I not realize God? That want comes when you stay with it. When you stay with spiritual life, with prayer, with meditation, with scriptural study, with holy company, you stay with it, that wanting will slowly increase. I remember when I became a monk many years ago, about 26, 27 years ago, after a few weeks, I was a young brahmachari. After a few weeks, I was telling another monk that nothing is happening. I mean, impatient young man, so within a few weeks you realize God or something like that, you feel. So am I wasting my time here? And then that monk told me in Bengali, go back home. I said, no, 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 I can't do that. And then he told me that, see, that home, which place which you called home for 22, 23 years of your life, within 2 weeks you are unable to go back there. That itself, is it not a great achievement that you are able to transcend those old connections and come up with? So within 2 weeks you're feeling like this, that this place is mine and I have to stay here. So this, if you this hunger and thirst after God, it will slowly transform you. That effect will come. That intense desire, bhakti, like Sri Ramakrishna or Vivekananda may not be there at first, but a little bit that we do, it has a great effect on us. 2 years back, at Harvard University, a professor of philosophy, she said to me, you might think that at Harvard they may not be interested in God and God realization. They are. A lot of interesting discussions. So one of these professors said to me, because he was a monk, he said, how many people attain God realization in their life? Moksha, nirvana, very few. So why should I take this path which has so little chance of success? You see the question. What is the chance of success in this path, in spiritual life? How many people will become enlightened? So why should I go in this path? Give me, what is the reason? So I gave him 2 reasons why one should go in the spiritual path, and he gave me a third reason also. The reason I gave was that success is guaranteed, because your very nature is the Atman, is Brahman. What can keep you away from your own nature? So one day or the other you will realize God. All of us will. Only it may not be, unless we make an effort, it may not be in this lifetime. But surely we will get it. This first answer. Second answer, why we should take up spiritual practice. I said, once one takes up spiritual practice, nothing else in the world compares to that. If you meditate, if you pray, if you like devotional music, if you are interested in Vedanta, spiritual inquiry, very soon you will find nothing else compares with that. That becomes so important to you in your life. So these 2 reasons I gave. And the professor said, these are good reasons, but these are a little theoretical. Let me give you the real reason why people enter spiritual life and stick to it. He said, very beautiful answer. I always share this if I get the chance. He said, when you enter spiritual life, you will find benefit from it day to day. When you will get moksha, God realization, it's a maybe distant thing. But as we go on, as we go to the ashram, as we go and sit and meditate, as we pray, as we listen to devotional music, day by day you get some benefit, some strength, some peace of mind. And that's why people stick to spiritual life. Because they are not some distant final goal. Day by day they are getting some benefit. That is true. That is true. One gets this benefit as we are in spiritual life. Everybody feels something. That's a very valuable thing. Then Jesus says next, blessed are the merciful, for they shall find mercy. This is an important point. That to forgive others so that God will forgive us. God is ready to forgive us, but we burn because we do not forgive others. I've seen there are people who not only hold on to friends, more than that, they hold on to enemies, so-called enemies. They are constantly thinking, this person behaved badly with me. That person said that thing to me. That person has cheated me, or bullied me, insulted me. And this goes on in the mind, and they dwell on it. And people may say, why not? After all, it's a fact. That person has behaved badly and deserves to be punished. The problem is, if I light a fire in my own heart, before burning others, it will burn me. My life will become a hell first. Swami Vivekananda said, it is the foolish one who cannot get angry. The wise person does not get angry. If something in the world does not make you angry and upset, it's foolishness. Of course, there are bad things in the world. There are people who misbehave in the world, and anger or reaction is natural. But it's a wise thing not to become angry. we ourselves, the first person to be harmed by anger and resentment and hatred is ourselves. Spiritual life is not possible until we are at peace with others. Others may not forgive you. Others may have, they may act against you, but internally, mentally, if we have nothing against anybody else, if you are a well-wisher for everybody in the world, even people who have misbehaved with you, if you are a well-wisher for them, you pray to the Lord, uh, like Gandhiji used to pray, Sabko Sanmati De, give good sense to everybody. You pray for their welfare. Then you will first beneficiary, you are the first beneficiary. We are the first beneficiary of being the well-wishers of all others. Blessed are the merciful, for they will find mercy. I had read this from a poet. I think maybe Eliot probably. He talks about, there is a Christian and Islamic belief in the day of judgment, that at the end of everything we will be judged for our sins and so on. So it is like that. It's very nicely put by the poet. He says that that you may cheat everybody, including yourself. Nobody may realize the truth about you. But on that day, means that's the day of judgment, when you are face to face with the one who knows how to ask questions, what answer will you give on that day? When you are face to face with God, when God asks, this is what a beautiful image it is. God asks these questions, what answer will you give? How will you cheat on that day? So, blessed are the merciful, from your own goodness, from your own greatness, forgive others continuously, day by day. Let it go. Let it go. I have seen one monk in Belur Math, our main monastery. He was in charge of what is called the Bhandar. Bhandar means the kitchen. And imagine the responsibility of feeding 400, 500 people daily, not now in the pandemic time, but in earlier times, 400, 500 people on a normal day, 3 meals a day, exactly on the time, bell has to ring at a particular time, everything has to be perfectly arranged. If everything goes perfectly, nobody will say anything to you, no praise for you. But if anything goes wrong, then you will be criticized really. And on special days, 30, 40,000, 50,000 people he has to feed. With, of course, huge team is there. You can imagine what a high pressure job it is. And not one day, not 1 month, year after year after year. I never saw him angry. He was always serious, but never angry. So I asked him one day, how do you remain calm in the midst of so much aggravation, so much chaos, and so much responsibility, tension also? So he did this. He showed like this. Like this. I said, what is the meaning of that? He said, listen, many years ago, when I was a young brahmachari in Shillong, Ramakrishna Mission Shillong, it's in Northeast India, in Meghalaya. I was a young monk. One day I was very unhappy, and a senior monk saw me and asked, "Ki hoyeche? What is wrong?" I said, "So and so has said something like this, and it's going on in my mind." And the senior monk said like this, "Jhede dhalo, brush it off. Every day, continuously do this. As you little bit of dust on your cloth, if you brush it off like that, similarly, all these things which accumulate in the mind, forget it. Let it go. For your own benefit, not for others. You're not being a very forgiving person for others, great person, not in that sense. For my own peace of mind. A wise person will do this. Let it go. Otherwise, my own life becomes a hell, and spirituality is not possible." Another place in the Bible, Jesus says that if you have got something to offer to God, but you have got something against somebody else in your mind, then you put down your offerings. Go and you settle it with your brother first. In Bengali, it's a mitmat Korean. Mentally let it go from yourself. Maybe it may not be possible also. That person may not be available or may not be ready to make amends with you. But at least try, mentally let it go. He says, then you come and offer it to God, because God will not accept anything from you until you are at peace with the other people in the world. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall find mercy. Very practical advice in this world itself. Ultimately, when God will give mercy to us, that's a final thing. But here, day to day, you will find peace if you are at peace. If you are merciful towards others. Then he says something very powerful, very beautiful. He says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Straight, direct statement. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. What is this pure in heart? It's an important term in Vedanta. It is called Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the mind. See, most of the spiritual practices that we do, the purpose is only this much: purification of the mind, Chitta Shuddhi. The work that we do for others, Karma Yoga, purpose is Chitta Shuddhi. Even one of the big effects of japa, repeating the mantra, meditating, is actually Chitta Shuddhi, ultimately concentration of mind, but before that, purification of mind. How do I know that my mind is not pure? In this book, Swami Prabhavanandaji gives an experiment. He says, sit quietly and make up your mind, for 1 minute I will think about God. In whatever form. You think about Krishna, but try. Within few seconds you will see, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, some other thought will come. Then you go bring your thought back to God, then within few seconds you will see mind has gone elsewhere. I am not thinking about God. Why is this happening? I have decided. It is my own mind. I have decided to think about God for 1 minute only. I can't. Again and again the mind is swept away. I have to bring it back. Why is this happening? This is because the mind has been taken over by these patterns of thinking, desires, negative thinking, this habitual patterns of thinking which I have accumulated over a long time in this life and past lives. And this has to be purified. Otherwise it will not help. This mind will not help me in spiritual path. There is a story, funny story given by one senior monk. We think it is our mind, so it will be easy to control. No. He says, suppose you have an apartment in another city. In Manila, suppose you have got an apartment. Now your friend wants to go and stay there. And you say, oh yes, I've got an apartment. There is a caretaker. I'll write a note that you show it to the caretaker. He will allow you to stay there. So your friend now goes to your apartment in that city. He rings the bell. A door opens. Tough guy-looking guy comes out. What? What do you want? I have to stay here. No, you cannot stay here. No, the owner of this apartment has given me a note, you see. He shows the note. That fellow takes a look at the note and he tears it up, and then he calls 2 or 3 other tough-looking guys who come and catch hold of your friend and throw him out into the street. Now, will you say it is your apartment? It is no longer in your control. Some others have come and taken over that apartment. What has happened to our mind is like that apartment. It has been taken over by habitual patterns of thinking, anger, resentment, desire, which we have cultivated over many years. Now when I say, let this mantra, Ishta mantra, let my mind repeat it, that like those tough fellows coming out and throwing out your friend, they will come and take the poor mantra and throw it out. We will not think about it. We will not think about God. We will think about these things which we have been thinking all our lives. So, he says that pure in heart. And this purification of heart is the purpose of all these spiritual practices. Trying to do good to others. See, most of our action is for ourselves. Instead of doing that, this what we call altruistic action. I give money for some good cause. I go out and volunteer in some organization. It may be your own church or your own temple, or it may be some other organization. This unselfishly doing something for others, it purifies the mind. See, all our actions generally, I want to be happy, I will do for myself and those around me. And it has not worked. Many years I've been doing this. Have I become happy? Have I successfully become happy? No. Swami Vivekananda says that it may sound counterintuitive, but it is actually wiser to work for others. You will get happiness that way. Lasting happiness comes that way. Remember all the things that we have done in the past till today. Different ways we have consumed things, enjoyed things. How much of that gives us satisfaction now? Nothing. But the little things that we may have done for others in the past, you may have given a donation, you may have helped a poor person, behaved nicely with somebody. Maybe that person is not even grateful, maybe that person does not even know you. But when you think about it, you get a little bit of peace of mind now. That at least that one good thing I've done in my life. And if you do more of that, more peace of mind you will get. That purification comes through altruistic action, selfless action, good of others. I don't want anything in return. One gets peace of mind there. I have seen people here very ambitious, sudden here in the middle of Manhattan. This is called the city that never sleeps. And most of the time, what are they doing? They're trying to earn more money, busy. But after becoming, one thing I've seen, after becoming super rich, most people, they start giving away that money. And they find, I've accumulated millions, hundreds of millions. Just nearby, there is a row of buildings, huge buildings. Some of them are the tallest buildings in the world. This is called the Billionaires Road. Only billionaires stay there. And you will see many of them are philanthropists. The reason is, somehow, after some time, they've realized happiness comes out of this. Not in accumulating more millions of dollars and billions of dollars, but in doing something for others. Purification of mind comes through selfless action. Purification of mind comes through thinking about the pure, that is, thinking about God. Look, keep the pictures, divine pictures in your house, in your room. Play devotional songs in your environment. It is very good for the mind. It will give peace and purity to the mind. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. What a direct statement of Jesus Christ. It's a statement for the ages, for all religions. One condition only for God realization: purity of heart. A pure person, God realization is guaranteed. And then he goes on, very nice, 2 or 3 more Beatitudes are there. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. What a beautiful thing. If you bring peace in yourself and those around you, they are the children of God. Then he says, blessed are they that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That means, if because of your spiritual practice, because you are involved in religion, if people mistreat you, criticize you, make fun of you, ridicule you, you are blessed. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. Jesus says in another place in the Bible, he says, all those are heavy laden, come unto me, for my yoke is light. What does it mean is, in samsara is such a burden. You can see it in the expression in the faces. Samsara is such a burden, such a heavy responsibility. If you surrender that responsibility to God, God will also give you some responsibility. If you come to some spiritual life, there will be something that you will have to do for God. But he says, my yoke is light. It is not a burden. It is a joy to do something for God. And if one has to face some trouble in spiritual life, that is also a blessing. How much trouble people take to hold a job, how much hard work, and even in the midst of illness, I've seen they're desperate because they'll be fired from the job. Even physically they're not feeling well, but they have to go and attend, or now from home itself. How much trouble people take for a job, how much trouble people take to get a degree in a good college, how much trouble people take to raise a family. You have children, next 20-25 years, your major effort is to bring up those children. So how much trouble you have taken in life? Will you not take a little trouble for the sake of God? Blessed are they that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I'll end with this story, very inspiring. There was a great Christian teacher, Athanasius, at one time in ancient Rome. And for some reason, Vatican politics and all, he was exiled. Anyway, I read a quotation by Athanasius. He says that, the quote is that if the world is against the truth, then Athanasius is against the world. And I found, who can say such a thing? If the world is against truth, then I am against the world. Then I looked up in the encyclopedia, in those days, actual physical encyclopedia, you had to go to the library and look up, who was this Athanasius? So I found in his life he was exiled from ancient Rome, from his country. He went away to Egypt more than once. He was thrown out of his community because of the persecution of some religious authorities. And remember, being exiled, being thrown out of your community is equal to death. In those days, it was the worst punishment. Boycott, remove you from your community. In Bengali, in villages, they used to say "Ek kore dawa," to put you in one room and nobody will mix with you. It's a great punishment. Nowadays, of course, we still have the same thing. What it's called, cancel culture. Cancel culture. So you are cancelled. Nobody will listen to you, talk to you, and so on. But there he says, "I'm willing to put up with this trouble. If the world is against the truth, I am against the world." These are the Beatitudes. Very inspiring, worth reading again and again, thinking about it. These are the parameters, the guidelines of spiritual life. I pray to the Lord to bless all of us with good sense, with spiritual sense. May we be able to imbibe the spirit of these Beatitudes in our lives. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Paramastu. So if there are a few questions, I think some people had.
Yes, there are two questions already, Maharaji. Shall I read it out with your permission?
Please do.
Okay, okay. 1 minute, Maharaji. I'll just go to those questions. Yes. Vishwadeep Chakravarti, he asks how to maintain this motivation all along, how to organize daily routines to be focused on spiritual life to use highest amount of time. Pranam Maharaj. Shall I read out another question?
Let me answer this.
Okay.
Yes. This is a good question because we get inspired. We read a book, listen to a lecture, we get inspired. But the inspiration does not last. And spiritual life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's something that we have to keep doing all our lives. So, how do I do that? One way is a routine. We are creatures of habit. That which has become a habit for us, we are able to do that easily. So, make it a habit to meditate at least twice a day. Have a component of devotion in your life, maybe a little puja, a little devotional music as part of your routine, and some activity in some voluntary group, maybe in your church or temple or some, your karma yoga. If not daily, at least weekly, someplace. And a regular study of texts, one after another. Take up texts of your tradition and other traditions. In Vedanta, we study the Upanishads and the Gita, Brahma Sutras, and many texts of Shankara and all of that. So, regular study, regular meditation, devotional practices, and some work for the benefit of others. You can see the 4 yogas: Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, then Dhyana Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Karma Yoga as a part of the routine. Very soon, you will find it so nice, so beneficial, so giving so much peace and sweetness in our lives that we will not be able to give it up. We will miss it. If you do meditation, suppose, say many people say it has become mechanical, I don't feel that I'm making any spiritual progress. You tell stop it, then don't go to the ashram, don't read any spiritual book, don't listen to spiritual talks, don't meditate, don't listen to devotional music. Very soon you will feel this restlessness and hunger for it. And that's a very good sign. That means the taste has been created. Right.
The second question, many thanks Maharaji. The second question is by Aditi Mitra. She asks, how to keep mind pure when I get angry, especially when we have to encounter such situations on a frequent basis. Any practical suggestion on this would be of great help in spiritual pursue. Thank you, Maharaji. Pranam.
That's a good question. And when we become angry, at that moment, it may not be possible to control. but afterwards we must let it go. There is a saying in Bengali, Sadhur Rag Jalet Dag. So the anger of a monk should be like like a line drawn in flowing water. If water is flowing, if you try to draw a line, what will happen to the line? The moment you're trying to draw it, it will go away. So it's not that anger will not come in your mind. It can come. Situations are changing and there will be problematic situations. A flash of anger may come. But we have to let it go. Remember, these changes in our mind, which we expect in spiritual life, they will not come all of a sudden. It's not like an on-off switch. Light was off, and I press the switch, light comes on. Not like that. They'll come slowly. What can we expect? How do I know I'm progressing? I know I'm progressing if I notice that there will be the frequency of that anger will reduce. Earlier, every day I used to get angry, little things. Now, maybe once in a week, once in 15 days, it happens. That's a sign of progress. A spiritual practice is having this effect. The intensity will reduce. Sometimes I had to fly with great fury at others. Now it is only like irritation, maybe for some time only. That's a sign of progress. Less intense. The negativities are less intense. And then finally, the reaction, the recovery time also will reduce. Earlier, become angry and hold on to that anger. 3 days, 4 days, whole week. Some people remain angry for whole life. That takes a lot of stamina. But no, this is a very foolish thing to do. Now, anger has come, within minutes it is gone. That's a sign of progress. So, less often it will happen, negativities. Intensity will be less, and you will recover much faster from it. So, the thing is that how to control when I'm angry? When you're angry at that time, it may not be possible to control. But at other times, make sure that you let go of that anger. Don't dwell on it. You realize it's not wise at all. Some practical suggestion is this. Couple of points. One is that if I know that my mind gets triggered by certain persons, places, certain kind of language, then better for me to avoid that. If possible at all, don't get involved in that. Even if that person is present, ignore. Even you cannot ignore, some situation you cannot ignore. It may be a co-worker, it may be a family member. In that case, don't respond. The anger requires a response from you. Somebody says something, ignore it. Don't respond to it. If moment to respond, anger will flash up in your mind also. So this is one practical point. The other thing will be, a great secret of the mind is, the mind can only hold on to one thought at a time. So angry thought, mind will be angry mind. But if you let go of that and put some other thought in its place, you put a meditative thought or start a devotional music, or just go for a walk outside. Something intense which the mind has to catch. If you do that, then the earlier thought will have to be replaced, because the mind cannot do two things at the same time. Just go for a vigorous walk outside, or do some other activity which demands attention. It will go. We'll see it will get reduced, the anger in your mind. So this is true practical suggestions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maharaji, for your such practical insight. It will definitely help all of us. Maladi, would you have something to ask or something to observe?
Yes, Nirmal, can I ask a question with Swami?
Please wait. We have one question here. Let Maladi, Mrs. Malasen speak, and then you can kindly come back.
রাজা আমি কিন্তু মঞ্জু দি
Yes, of course. I know you. Yes, I know you.
So my question is, like in the spiritual path, even I meditate and I listen whatever you said. We should listen to the scripture and all. But the days, not the same. There are some days you are so joyful and you are happy. You feel so good, and things have a different perspective. some days I drop. When I drop, then the craving, the cry come in my heart that where I'm going wrong. It is true that when you really go in this path, you look inside, your joy should come within. But I feel I am on a bridge. One side is the enlightened island, another side is the normal life. Somewhere I'm hanging. So
True.
the call come from both sides, and those are the days are painful. I said I'm doing everything right, but suddenly sadness come, and no reason, nothing wrong happened. Suddenly I feel I'm spiritually empty,
Right,
and next day I hold on. Why is how to come out of it?
right. It's a common problem that spiritual seekers always will face. I joke sometimes that spiritual seekers have double problem. One is those who are in samsara, who have no interest in God realization, spirituality, they have the problem of samsara. Problems in the world, all sorts of problems are there, and that makes them unhappy. Those who are spiritual seekers, they have double problem. One is the samsara problems are still there, all the same health problem, people problem in relationships, problem, financial problems, and so on, all are there. Plus, extra problem is there. Why is my mind upset? I am a spiritual seeker, so my mind should be calm. My mind is not calm, so double extra problem is also there. So, samsara unhappiness plus spiritual unhappiness also comes. Anyway, humor apart, but it is true. Once you're on the spiritual path, you have a very, we put it so beautifully that this bridge, you're standing in between two lives. There is a higher spiritual life. You have tasted a little bit of it already, but there is also the what we have left behind. That the whole of this world is also surrounding us, and we feel sometimes we're in between, and there's nothing wrong with that. There, Vedanta helps us. Our real nature is infinite awareness. Divinity is our real nature. It's already there, whether we realize it or not. So that sense of safety should also always be there. Don't worry about what the problem generated by the mind. Treat the mind like you would treat a little child. Children sometimes get angry, sometimes upset, sometimes excited. The parents are wise, so they don't have to react to everything that the child does. Today the child is behaving, the mind is behaving, throwing up a little bit of depression, little bit of unhappiness. All right, let it be. I know that the mind goes in this way. So let me persist with my spiritual practices. Let me watch the unhappiness of the mind, the depression of the mind. I know it is temporary. It is something like a wave in the ocean. It has come up. It has nothing to do with me. I am the witness of it. I am all right. You will see very soon that will go away.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm the problem.
No. খুব ভালো লাগলো, thank you so much. আমার মন- Yes, somebody else
Please,
would ask.
please
I
carry
don't
on,
know.
carry
I
on.
talk to you when I go New York. I
Yes,
understand.
certainly.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji, and thank you, Maladi. Adamer has something to ask. Adamer Kutani,
Yes.
please be brief, and so that we can accommodate one or two more.
All right. Thank you so much, Nirmal. Thank you so much, Swami Sarvapriyananda. It's been an honor for joining. Thank you so much. You have very big impact in my life. For me, as a Christian, before not knowing Vedanta, I have some doubt in my faith. But after knowing Vedanta, my faith becomes real, right? And it becomes my worship is very real right now. Thanks to Vedanta. Thanks to your lecture. I have a question, Swami, because Swami Vivekananda in your lecture advocated the four harmony of yoga, right? The meditation, the path of karma, and all of this for yoga. So my understanding, Swami, is that before I have this great devotion with Santo Niño. This is a small Jesus, right? But it's being hallowed because I don't. There's some doubt. But after knowing Vedanta, after having this knowledge, it becomes real. Now, Swami Vivekananda, and in your lectures, is telling that you can take any path, like path to devotion or path to other paths. But I have a question because there's no amount of meditation or karma yoga will liberate you if you don't have knowledge within you. Just like me before, I have worships that come to me, but I don't have knowledge with my real self. So my question is, there's something wrong maybe, because if you go to the path of meditation, you need to take your knowledge. If you go to karma yoga, you need to have knowledge. But knowledge alone, I understand it can liberate you, because but knowledge is basically very difficult, because as you said in your lecture, you need to be a saint. It's like, you need to, Viveka, Vairagya, all the six jewels, and Mumukshatam. It's very difficult, Swami, to take the path of knowledge. I understand that. But this is my question, Swami. How can we do
Yes.
meditation or what without some form of knowledge? It's just some, it doesn't make
Right.
sense right to me.
Now, that's a very good question. But what you said first, that it makes your own faith real. Vedanta makes your own faith. You feel that it
Yes.
is real. It's not just a belief. That's something that I've heard from people from different religions. That after studying Vedanta, my own spirituality has been deepened. And that's actually the purpose of Vedanta. Um, so now, the four yogas, all four are paths to spirituality. When we say without the knowledge of who I am, my real nature, there is no liberation. That is the actual path to liberation, self-knowledge. That there the framework is Advaita Vedanta, which is the central teaching that I give, that's my tradition. So we do not know who or what we truly are. We do not know that we are the Atman. And so that ignorance is the source of all our problems, and that ignorance is removed by knowledge. And this is the basic idea of Advaita Vedanta. In this framework, it is absolutely clear what you said, what is absolutely sure, that without self-knowledge, there is no liberation possible. But that you remember, it is from a particular Advaita Vedanta framework. In Hinduism, we are aware of multiple frameworks. So there are other forms of Vedanta, like Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, where they will say not self-knowledge so much, it is actually devotion to God which will free you. So depending upon your framework, one of the yogas will become primary. In Advaita Vedanta, Jnana Yoga is primary, the path of knowledge is primary, because the framework is like that, the philosophy is like that. Now for practical spiritual life, what do you do about the harmony of the four yogas? Swami Vivekananda recommended that you practice. He said by any one of them you can attain enlightenment, but he recommended that you practice a harmony, a combination of all four. Because those are the capacities that we have. We have the capacity to understand, jnana. We have the capacity to love, bhakti. We have the capacity to work, karma. And we have the capacity to meditate and have these mystic experiences, dhyana. So all those capacities are there. Why use only one capacity? Use all of them. But we all have our own tendencies. Some are predominantly loving, deeply emotional. Bhakti may work easily for you. Some are deeply intellectual. Without without knowledge, they feel they have not attained anything. So the path of jnana becomes primary. When we try to practice all the yogas, you will find one will appeal to you more. One will feel more real to you. One will make you more interested, excited, more alive. Others may feel mechanical. But remember that that is not the fault of the yogas. It is the makeup of my own mind. So which makes me suited for one path, and the other paths are not so appealing for me. In fact, if the others are not appealing for me, it may be actually useful for me to even persist a little bit, even if it is a little mechanical, to do a little bit of that. So it's always very beneficial to do the four yogas in your life, keep those components in your life. One will become predominant, no harm there. I have seen among the monks in the monastery, the devotees also, they are predominantly either bhakta, devotional, or jnani, path of knowledge, or dhyani, meditative, or karmi, who are active, path of service. Now, is the path of knowledge specially difficult? Yes and no. In one sense, yes. But if your tendency is towards the path of knowledge, it will not seem. First of all, you cannot stop yourself. You'll have to go down that path. All these qualifications which are mentioned, these are just like indicators, just to help us that these, my viveka, vairagya, these things, the dispassion, the discernment between eternal, non-eternal, the control of the senses. Am I keeping them in at a good level? It's like the indicators in a car, oil pressure, temperature, speed, fuel. You see the indicators and you understand it. Everything is all right. So it depends more upon one's own predilection and the makeup of our mind. And always a good thing, even if the other yogas feel mechanical, to keep it in your life, to make an effort to practice the other yogas. Shall we wrap up now?
Thank you, Maharaji. But if you allow, there are two questions waiting here. Can we accommodate two questions?
Let's take it up quickly.
Okay. Let me read those two questions. First question is Mr. Uday Chatterjee from Dehradun, India asks, can you speak a few words on how to practice detachment, Swamiji?
Can you speak a few words
On detachment.
on how to practice
detachment?
Yes. Reflect on the impermanence of things. That nothing is there permanently in our lives. No person is there permanently in our lives. Think about it, even the closest and dearest persons. At one time, they were not there in your life. Husband, wife, children, they were not there. Now they have come. And one day they will all go away. Father, mother, parents, grandparents, they go old and they die and they go. Children grow up and go away. So people will go away. Co-workers, members in your community, they come into your lives and then they leave. So everything and everybody ultimately, they will come and disappear from your life. This gives a feeling of detachment. There is a saying that between the eternal and the non-eternal, there can be no relationship. Eternal and non-eternal, there can be no real relationship. You are the eternal. You are the Atman. You are existence itself, consciousness itself, bliss itself. And that is your real nature. Between you and everything else in the world, anatma, non-atma, there can be no relationship actually. They are all non-eternal. People, wealth, degrees, jobs, places, possessions, all are non-eternal. They only seem to be in a relationship with you, but they come into your life, stay for some time, and they will disappear. This is anitya, the impermanent nature, and this is a fact. You don't have to do too much philosophy about it. We hide our eyes from this fact, but it's a fact in our lives. When we think about it, then we realize that detachment is not something that I don't have detachment, I have to practice it. Actually, the fact of the matter is that you are detached from everything in the world. And we think we are attached, and that's what gives us the trouble. Detachment is natural to you. Think about the maximum attachment. What is the greatest possible human attachment? The greatest possible human attachment is a young mother to her baby. Little child, mother is deeply, deeply attached, and that is necessary for the child also. But imagine that mother, when she goes to sleep at night, she forgets the world, she forgets herself, her own body, and even her most precious baby also she forgets and goes to sleep. And she goes to sleep happily with a feeling of relief. What will happen to the baby? You cannot stop it. The sleep will come and everything from your life will disappear from you for a few hours at least. That means, really speaking, that mother who thinks I'm so attached to my baby, ultimately is not attached. Even every night, world, people, body, other husband, and the baby, they all disappear into the darkness of deep sleep. And you go happily into that. Person will go mad if there is no deep sleep. So our real nature is already detached. There's nothing that will stick to us, nothing that will remain with us, nobody that will stick to us, nobody can remain with us. They appear in our lives, they play around in the screen of our consciousness, and they disappear to the source where they came from. And that's fine. That's fine. And our attitude should be, let it come, let it be, let it go. It means anything in the world, anybody in the world. Let it come, let it be in your life, and let it go. You are fine. Our problem starts when we say, I cannot do without this person, I cannot do without that money, I cannot do without this house. You can. You have been perfectly all right before this person, before that money, before that house. And you will be fine after that person, after that house, after that money also. No problem at all. This will give you a sense of detachment.
Thank you so much, Maharajji. And Maharajji, you are so enormously and immensely popular that we had a record of the people, more than 200 persons tried to enter, but we had the limitation of 100 people. We are so sorry. But there is a plethora of question, but we'll have to end with the last question. Mr. Hemant Meruga, he is presently in Bhubaneswar Ramakrishna Mission Ashram. He lives in Hyderabad, India. So he has a question. If I may ask, ask you if you can read, how does Advaita Vedantins see Shakti and grace, and why don't they experience the sweetness part of truth in addition to the brilliance part of the truth?
So Hemantji is you are in
Yes,
Bhubaneswar
Hemantji, you
Ramakrishna
can
right now.
you can explain.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes,
Yes, Maharaj, blessed to see you.
that is a place which is very dear to me because I grew up there, and as a little boy I used to go to that ashram. So please convey my
Yes.
pranams to the revered Swamijis there, and special
Yes,
pranams
Maharaj.
to Thakurma Swamiji there and Raja Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda's room. A very powerful
This,
room is there. Yes,
yes, most of my morning I was in that room, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
wonderful, wonderful.
And I also just I tried to meet you in New York Center twice, 2 years back, when I was on business trip. And unfortunately, you were traveling, so we could not meet. But blessed that today
We
we
are
are meeting
meeting
virtually
virtually,
again.
yes. The answer to your question is simple, is that it's not that the Advaitins do not experience the sweetness side of it, the grace side of it. The emphasis is on the Sat, the Chit. The emphasis may not be so much on the Ananda side of it. The expression is like that. But anybody who is sufficiently advanced in spiritual life will always taste that sweetness, that joy. It will always be there in the heart of the person. Relationships with God. Shanta, peaceful. Dasya, servant. You are the Lord, I am your servant. Then a third one is the Sakya, friend, like Arjuna and Krishna. I feel God is my friend. And then the fourth one is Vatsalya. God is my child. So like Yashoda had, like, treat God like a little child. There was this gentleman, a Filipino gentleman who said, I love the child Jesus. So that is Vatsalya Bhava. And then Madhura Bhava, the God as the beloved, as the lover, like Radha and Krishna. Now you see, this is an increasing order of sweetness. From Dasya to Sakya, from relation of servant to a relation of friend, to relation of parent and child, to the relation of the beloved. Now in Advaita Vedanta, what we do is even before this, the first one, Shanta Bhava. Sri Ramakrishna says the rishis had it. That is the path of knowledge. There also is a relationship with the ultimate reality. As long as you are in the form of a jiva, your real nature is one with it. You are that. But when you sit and contemplate that, it is Shanta Bhava. That's also wonderful. But yes, you are right. In the other attitudes, the sweetness aspect increases more and more and more.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much,
got a special
Maharaj.
opportunity to meet all the devotees. Thanks to
Yes.
Swami Udaranandaji Maharaj.
Swami, there will be a vote of
Acha,
thanks for 1 minute.
Yes.
There will be a vote
before
of
that,
thanks.
Nirmala, 1 minute I would like to have
Okay,
something.
okay, please.
I have a very honest request to you, Maharaj, a humble request, Swami, that people here are, many people could not join today and they were requesting that Can you give us one more talk on imitation of Christ? Imitation of this, you were saying it is a very favorite book. Many people wanted to hear from you. So they were asking me, but they could not join today because the 100 is the limitation. So my WhatsApp was ringing, and it is constantly on move. They were asking how to join, but unfortunately, 100 is the limitation for this version. So can you just grant us one more class on this imitation of Christ?
Sure, Maharaj. We will set it up cheerfully.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So now, Hemanta, back to you. I just wanted to request Maharaj for this.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Maharaji, for your kind support, and we will follow it up. Now, I would request Hiranya Mukhopadhyay, our friend, to kindly give vote of thanks to Sarvapriyanandaji Maharaj, who have been so kind to talk to us early in the morning and give us such mine house of guidance, spiritual guidance. Hiranya, please, and also all the participants to attend in such large numbers and with such enthusiasm and motivation. Hiranya.
Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, on behalf of all the devotees who joined today, participated in today's wonderful lecture, I convey our heartfelt thanks and pranam to Maharaj for this wonderful lecture. Thank you, Maharaj, and pranam.
Pranam Maharaji, and we have ended the program now. We are once again so much thankful to you and look forward to have you once again for the other lecture. We will set it up.